with hitting record is what I should do. All right, so
Wait, look, a butterfly.
welcome to my show. Oh my
A butterfly.
God.
I saw a butterfly.
You know
Shiny
what?
objects.
How dare you? That is the rudest thing anyone has ever done to me. You interrupted me
It's Rudy
on my own
interrupted.
show.
Drink.
So, welcome to the Pool Show podcast. I'm your host, Andrea Nannini, and I have a nuisance joining me today. Just kidding. He's not a nuisance. He's a very good friend of mine. You already know him, Mr. Rudy Stankiewicz, which is short for Rudington McStankowitz, in case nobody knew.
Hey, everybody. It's Rudy on the wrong side of the mic.
Rudington McStank. Yeah, this is weird. I'm in the big chair and you're in the little chair today.
That's correct. We swapped seats. But it's your show.
It is my show. It's
So
a
I'm
side
gonna
show, a side
just-
project.
Answer questions. That's why I'm here.
So, I don't know if you listened to my first episode, but it was in California
did.
when I went there. You did? Okay. Yeah, so I'm trying to keep it laid back like I told you earlier. I'm not trying to rush with episodes and like cram stuff in people's faces. But I wanted to talk to you about the pool show that we were just at, because I think that we had a really great time. Well, I had a great time. It was
a lot of
fun one
fun
for me.
It was great. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I thought it went really well. Our event went really well. I'm happy about that. The meet and greet at the booth went really well. All in all, yeah, a success. But the Florida show is always a really good show.
Yeah, I haven't been to too many outside of Florida. I did go to one of the international ones in Vegas. And then I went to another international one that was in New Orleans. But yeah. Oh, and of course the Keys.
Because of the mashed potatoes.
That's right. And they have that every year. I think it's because I hype it up. So it's great. You can put bacon in there. But yeah, so I just wanted to talk about, kind of what we did, and also make sure that we thank everybody for stopping by. Not only the Revved Up Apparel booth, thanks to those guys for having us, because they were really cool and very nice to talk to and fun to hang out with. And their shirts are great too. Did you like your shirt?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the shirts are amazing, actually.
Yeah. So anyway, and then the poker run went fun too. So Berry Blue Pool Services won that. That was a fun time.
Raoul Skull.
Did you catch his wife's name?
Mrs. Skull.
I'm sorry about that. Yeah. So anyway, that's it. So
everybody thinks that we hate each other now because you're doing this podcast on the side. You got this side gig going on. It's kind of like Kiss, the rock band Kiss. They all did solo albums, and guess what? The band got back together again afterwards, and Paul Stanley, Gene Simmons, still with the band, the original founding members. So I don't get it.
Well, I told everybody, I had multiple people come up to me and ask me, so what's going on? I heard you and Rudy were fighting, and I heard this and I heard that. Maybe we had a couple of disagreements, maybe like last month and like the month before, but we're past that now. But it was all just like creative differences, right? It wasn't anything like it wasn't anything like crazy, like we were mad at each other.
No, we were just discussing the show, and you wanted to do an interview format. I don't think we're just ready for that yet to go full-blown interview format. So this actually just worked out great. You decided to take it on as a side project, and I'm 100% in support and in favor of it. And I've been trying to help you out along the way as well. So everybody can get over it if they're looking for drama, because there just ain't none.
Well, I appreciate all the help, and it's gone well so far. Everybody had good things to say about the first episode. So, well, anyway, so let's get into why you're here, I guess. So it's been mentioned a couple of times, and I've made a bunch of jokes about it. And I think the pond guy, Alan, he kind of gave you a little bit of
guy.
He kind of gave you a little bit of crap for it too. I don't know. It might have been my fault. I think I might have been the one that brought it up. But
no, he brought. Well, I don't remember. No, I brought it up,
Did you
and then
bring it
he
up?
said he said I was weird,
He said you were
and
weird, and I
I
thought
did
that was
respond.
hilarious. I
Yeah, I
laughed.
did respond to it, and I did answer the question. And going back when I edited, I did listen, and I did hear that I did answer that question. I was worried that I hadn't,
Ah,
but it'd be
well,
cool to address it again here. So yeah, I have algae.
Rudy has algae. Has that episode come out yet, Rudy?
Now those episodes will start on this week. We have Loop Lock
On talking
uh,
pools we're talking about now.
on Talking Pools podcast, and then the next 3 episodes are the natural pools versus swimming
And that
pools.
was with Alan Schnock.
Correct.
So, all right, cool. So yeah, we've mentioned this on Talking Pools on several episodes before. Rudy has algae. I like to make the joke that he's growing it in his kitchen, but I guess it's not. Do you have an algae
because of
room
because of Egon.
because of Egon?
No, I started. Well, yeah, actually, remember back in 2018, I was looking into black algae, trying to figure out what it was because there
Hmm.
was really no documentation, documented research available anywhere explaining what black algae is. So we knew what green algae was. We knew mustard algae, that's diatoms, but there was no scientific name for this. Had to be something other than black algae. So I decided I was going to figure it out. And I went out and I collected samples from a whole bunch of different pools and I brought
I
them
remember
to a
because I
bunch of
was going to
different
send you
places.
some. Sorry.
Mm-hmm. That's it's your show.
Ha ha ha. Well, yeah, you drink every time I interrupt you now. How's that for a drinking game? You got
I don't think I would
interrupted,
make it.
drink.
I don't think I would make it through the episode, but I did have them analyze and figure out what they were, and I put that information out. And I know a lot of folks know about that. I have a paper on ResearchGate. I also didn't really know how else to get the information out to everybody, so I put it in a book that's available on Amazon. It's called How to Get Rid of Swimming Pool Algae,
I'll link it in the show
and
notes.
it is there. And it's actually how to get rid of and prevent, or how to prevent and get rid of
Hmm.
swimming pool algae. We'll
And
get the link in the show notes.
you used your author name Rudington McStankowitz.
I no, I went with my birth name, Rudy Stankiewicz.
Ah, I see.
But in doing that, yeah, I was able to get that information out, and it answered a lot of questions for folks. And I've been told by some people that I know more now about black algae in swimming pools than many people in the world, which I don't know if that's true or not, but I did learn quite a lot of stuff, and really just happy to share it, looking for the betterment of the industry. So with that, the research didn't stop there. A lot of folks don't know this, but I did make it a point for those species of black cyanobacteria that we identified in the black algae biofilms. I did start growing those so I could continue to study them
So you don't
to
have
see.
to like infect your own pool, basically.
No, I don't have to infect my own pool, and I do have them separated by genus, so I can look at each different type specifically. And the goal was to determine what they needed to thrive, what they needed to survive, and then what I could take away to make it harder for them to live. Because if I can figure out what to take away, and then we can actually implement that in a swimming pool, it would make it harder for them to live there as well. So I wanted to identify those things that it needed for growth so I could create a situation, or basically just a set of parameters. Here, if you keep your pools, at this pH, at this alkalinity, at this calcium hardness, then your pool will be less prone to growing algae. Doesn't mean it won't happen, but it means it would be less conducive for that specific species,
Or like easier to get rid of.
or easier to get rid of. Well, that was the other thing too, because then that involved into trying to kill it. So I would
Aw,
sit
poor
there
algae.
with a slide and inject different amounts of different chemicals broken down into very, very tiny little measures to see how the different genus of cyanobacteria reacted with each of the different things that I added, to see if there was better ways that we could go about killing it as well.
So I'm
And
guessing you
this
didn't
is an
name them
ongoing. I didn't name them. This
because
is
that
an
would be
ongoing
tragic.
project. My goal again is just to provide better solution. Black algae is one of those things that everybody freaks out about. Oh my God,
Mhm.
it's here. You're never going to get rid of it. You're going to have to drain the pool,
You have
fill
to
it in,
replaster.
move to Colorado. Yes, do whatever.
Move to Colorado.
So there's got to be a better answer, I thought. So that's why I started doing this, so I could study it and figure out what it needs, and then relay that information out to the pool professionals to make your jobs easier. That was my goal.
One of the things that surprised me when you told me about it, because I remember back, like joked about it earlier, but I remember back then when you were collecting the samples and stuff. Um, One of the things that surprised me was that there's actually like just more than one type all kind of hanging out down there together. We only see, the offensive black fuzzy spots and it all looks the
Yeah, that
same.
little. Mhm.
But it's crazy to know that there's different genuses, different kinds, different colonies all living together under the same, I guess, biofilm, right? And that's pretty
That's what it
interesting.
is.
Yeah.
And it's a collective community of different things that live together in that tiny little dime-sized pile of schmutz that we call black algae. And what I found is that black algae is always cyanobacteria. It's just that the cyanobacteria that make up the primary constituent in the black algae can differ by geographic location and actually in as short a distance as a mile. So, what that means is that the black algae you have in one pool, even if the neighbor has black algae also, it might not be the same thing, even though it looks the same.
That's pretty crazy. And that's just, that goes right along with what we always say is every pool is different. You even have different types of black algae. That's gross.
And there's other stuff in there as well. It's not just cyanobacteria.
Well, because the
It
biofilm
secretes,
harbors like, go ahead.
yeah, it secretes these polysaccharidic slime that protects it, and other things start to find home in there as well. Some not so bad, some pretty friggin' bad.
So like other types of algae, right? Because I've had that before. It can
There
harbor like green
could
algae
be.
or whatever.
We've found diatoms in some of them. We've found green algae in other. We've found different types of protozoa. Black algae is also known to harbor at times Legionella, Nigleri fowleri. That's the brain-eating amoeba.
Ooh, lovely.
So some scary stuff. Not to mention that's all just on top without including the fact that some of it actually secretes toxins on its own into the water.
Toxins like what?
Hepati- uh, Hepatotoxins, microcystis, cyanotoxins, just basically different cyanotoxins is what you'll get from some of the different genus,
And then you
like
ingest the water with that crap in there and then that gets you sick?
it's not,
Or
it
is
would
it
take
more
a
like
lot.
an inhalation kind of thing?
You'd have to probably eat it off the wall, actually.
Ew, I bet there's people that do that,
Unless you're
don't
in a pool unless you're in a pool that had just such a tremendous amount and then there was no chlorine in the water, then yeah, then that could possibly make somebody sick. The benefit we have is that as these things secrete the toxins into the water, the chlorine rapidly oxidizes the toxins.
I see, but
So
it
it's really
doesn't
not a huge threat
but
in a properly maintained pool.
but the but the biofilm that it creates for itself makes it resistant to the chlorine, so you can't actually kill it. Well, you have if you have strong enough chlorine, you can, but the normal level that we maintain in a swimming pool isn't enough to get through the biofilm to kill the algae, the
No. And
cyanobacteria.
or anything else that took harbor in there.
So,
I mentioned Legionella a minute ago. Legionella, it only takes about 1 part per million of chlorine to kill it, depending on where the pH is at. But when that takes harbor in the cyanobacteria, now you're looking at, for rapid death,
mhm.
maybe 100 parts per million of chlorine. I don't know.
Oh wow.
Whatever it takes to get through the slime.
Well, I don't know how many parts per million a couple granules of, well, a couple granules, a couple 1,000 granules of trichlor raises it, but that does the trick for me. I was gonna ask you, so like, what types of like chemical is there like specific like lack of chemical or a specific maybe higher level
There's a
of
lot of
something that like contributes it to, is it all different? Is there like specifics?
there are some things that they basically have in common. Most algae, they're going to obviously prefer water with a lower chlorine level than a higher chlorine level.
Right.
They like slow moving water.
Okay.
So consider your dead spots in circulation.
Or a dirty
That's going to have
filter.
both of those, less chemistry, slower moving water. They like ambient light. They like the pH on the higher side. Mustard algae specifically likes the calcium hardness on the higher side. Mustard algae also requires silicates, whether it's coming in through the fill water or just what's supplied in the pool alone, because there are sources of silicates there as well. Phosphates, nitrates, carbon, all of those things. But depending on the pool, that gives us an idea of what we need to work on. So when we say slow moving water, that could be a dead spot, or it could be an area of plaster that needs to be replastered. If it starts to get a surface similar to like an English muffin with all the nooks and crannies,
Mm-hmm.
then you need to replaster it. It doesn't have roots. There are no friggin' roots.
It doesn't, so it
I can
doesn't get
show you.
down into the underneath the plaster in between the layers and stuff like.
It, the only way that it gets in the plaster is if the plaster is pitted and then it just happens to grow there.
Ah, okay. So it just like
So I
found a
can
good
understand how,
snuggly place to live in.
right. So, like, if there's a pinhole, there could be a whole bunch of cells that decide to start to develop in that hole, in that area, which I can understand why folks would think that it's rooting in there, but it's not. And once you kill it, sometimes the pool does need to be replastered, but only because it actually needs to be replastered, not because you had black algae.
Would you say that if you have black algae in the pool, you automatically have high phosphates or a phosphate present, phosphate level present?
Well, there'd have to be some, but I wouldn't necessarily say that it had to be high.
Okay. And then you said calcium. Mustard algae likes calcium and black algae as well, or just mustard algae?
Less important for black algae, but mustard algae actually requires a higher hardness level in the water in order for it to move throughout that body of water. It uses it for mobility. So it's important for it to be able to get to the area where it gets the best of everything, the slowest moving water, the best lighting for it. So the higher calcium level enables it to do this. And once it gets to that area, of course, then it can thrive. So it actually requires best, or the best calcium level for mustard algae would be 277.25 parts per million or higher.
So right where we keep it, pretty much.
If you're keeping it at over 275, then yeah, you're right in the range that is better for mustard algae growth. So obviously, if you're in an area that's conducive to mustard algae, keeping your hardness level, your calcium hardness level on the lower side will make it less likely to form in your pool.
And you learned this from the algae, not in the kitchen. Did you feed it Tums?
I do I no, but I have fed it erythromycin and some
Oh,
other antibiotics, a bunch of good stuff,
nice, cool.
just to see what works, see what we can put in there, see what we could put in pool water that may have a shot. I've identified a couple of things, so we're doing good there.
So you're like a cross between Seymour from Little Shop of Horrors. What was his last name? Did he have a last name in the movie? A cross between Seymour
I,
and Egon. There you go.
well, unlike with say, well, in the episode with Alan called it a hobby. It's not a hobby actually.
Yeah,
It's
well that's
actual
why I wanted to
research.
talk to you because
So
I've made in passing the joke about being in the kitchen and stuff, but it's
no, it's actual research. I have
yeah,
paper. I have a
cool.
book. I actually do go about the country and speak in sessions on algae and black algae and how to handle it. I have a couple of online classes available for it as well. So yeah, it's actually and of course anything that I take in financially for it really just supports the research.
Getting more algae?
So, well, yeah, I mean, I'm not getting
Because you got to
obviously, I
replace the
have other
samples
things
you're
going
trying to
on as
kill,
well.
right?
There, it's once you learn how what it needs to thrive, it's pretty easy to produce more and more and more and more.
I see. How about, are you going
Hmm.
to attempt spirulina? Can you grow spirulina?
I have spirulina.
Nice. Are you growing it?
That's a salt. Yes, only because I wanted to.
Cool.
That's a saltwater cyanobacteria that people eat.
Yes. I made a joke one time that because I cleaned a disgustingly dirty filter, and I made a joke that I interrupted someone's spirulina growing experiment or their
No,
crop or
yep,
whatever.
that's one of the genus I grow, and that one I just wanted to grow for fun because people eat it, so I wanted to check it out. But I have Osculatoria, Nostoc, Microcystis. Then I also have a couple of different. I have Leptolingbia. Those are my cyanobacteria genus that I have, and then I have several types of diatoms as well.
And you don't name them?
Now, their names are Osculatoria, Nostoc,
All right.
Lingbia.
All right. All right. All right.
But if you're interested, I'm going to throw it out there onlinepoolclasses.com. I have a class there that goes through preventing and eradicating algae that actually is a certification class. You earn a certificate, you get a badge a logo that you can use on your advertising to
Cool.
give you a marketable point of difference. And it does actually, you know, give you a bit more knowledge than your competition on how to keep the pools clear and free of algae without having to just continually dump loads and loads of chlorine in the water.
And without perpetuating, silly myths like to your customers too, like, oh, you need to replaster the pool and stuff like that.
Well,
So
that's one of the
that's
biggest
cool.
things I usually get when I say that I have a class on how to get rid of algae, and usually a bunch of people come back with, "Yeah, you just add more chlorine to the water." Well, yeah, you can do that if you like spending lots of money. That's fine. Or we can set the pool up so that the algae doesn't grow in it in the first place by doing a whole bunch of free things, so that way we don't have to worry about it.
Well, yeah, that makes sense to me. So, I mean, I just throw trichlor on top of it, but not everybody is so
Trichlor is
fond of
great for a
using
contact
that.
kill. Trichlor is great for a contact kill.
It
So is
is.
Calhypo. If either one of it sits on top of the colony, it's going to take it out. But it's not always practical because sometimes you do get black algae on the wall. It's not as easy to make it sit there. Or if you get a pool that has just a tremendous amount of it, there's a lot of other things that we can do and combinations of things.
Right. Which is something that I think that we need to realize more in the industry too, that there's a lot of different ways to do things. You know, we can do
It just
we can
comes
do
down to
things
the more you
different
know about it.
ways.
Well, the more you know about it, the easier it is to prevent and the easier it is to get rid of it. And my class is unlike a lot of the other classes that are out there. I don't sell a product. So what you're going to find is you have several solutions that actually, not that product solutions don't work. I want to give you more than just one solution. So the solution just isn't the product that I sell. I'm going to tell you all of the different ways to go about it. So that way, when you're out in the field, you have an arsenal of different things that you can choose from. So you can really cater the best method to that specific pool.
So you can
Whereas when you go to a manufacturer's or a chemical or a specialty manufacturer or a chemical whatever session on the topic, they're going to go through and give you a lot of great information as long as you're using their product. But their product is always going to be the solution. And sometimes their product's not the best choice. I want to give you those tools so you can make those decisions.
hang on one second. Sorry. No, that is I'm going to link. Okay, he stopped. I'm going to link all of that stuff in the show notes as well, so anyone who is interested in checking out the classes, the books. Do you have pictures of the algae?
I do.
Oh, okay. So yeah, we can find that. You can find
I keep them I keep them in my wallet next to my kids.
well, I was gonna ask. Well, that's why I made the Egon comparison because I've joked before that. Do you sing to the algae? Do you like
No, but
play
on a
guitar
different
for it?
note,
Oh no, you play
I
harmonica. Do you
think
play harmonica for
I
it?
think
Then?
no, but I do think you know this as well. I do also keep a bog of carnivorous
Oh
plants.
yeah, that's right. So my
Mhm,
comparisons
and
were spot on.
I have an Audrey too.
So you are like Seymour. You're like if Seymour and Egon had a
Suddenly.
baby. Yeah, see this suddenly. All right, cool. Well, do you have anything else? We can keep this kind of short. So, do you have anything else you want
Nope,
to add? You good?
nope, you're good.
All right, tell
Uh,
everybody if they don't already know where they can find you because you have a lot of social medias and we're at Talking Pools. Go listen to that one. That's
I'm
everywhere.
at my handle on almost every platform is at CPO class.
Okay.
My book is available on Amazon. You said you're going to drop the link in
I'm
the
going
show
to link
notes.
it. Yep.
I do also have cpoclass.com
Very
for
easy to
the
remember.
CPO classes that I teach. And then I have onlinepoolclasses.com. That's where you'll find a bunch of other tutorials and certification classes that I offer. Some are free, some are at a fee. Have to support the cost of the platform,
Mhm.
otherwise they can't be there. So we do have those, but there's a bunch of good stuff there too to check out.
All right, cool. Do you want to drop your books? Don't you have other books? Or do you have like an Amazon bookstore thingy?
Have to. I have an eclectic collection. I have a horror novel, which you have and never read. I have a series of children's
I
books.
read the inscription.
And then I have a couple of books on pool care, and then again, the one we've been talking about, how to get rid of swimming pool algae.
All right, cool. Well, you have a lot of links, my friend. Did you ever get the link tray I told you about?
No,
You should look into that because there's a free
probably.
version and you could just be like, you could find everything at rootingtonmcstankowitz.linktree.whatever.
I may not use that exact name for it, but sure, I'll check it out.
I kid, I'm
So
playing. All right, cool. Well, thank you for talking to me. And, you know,
thank you for having me.
yeah, thank you. I don't have a catch. I don't have like a sign off for this one. So I just go bye. So that's it.
What's your problem?
Oh no, we totally switched roles. See, now people are going to come up to you and go, "What's your problem?" And you're not going to have a clue what they're talking about.
Dude, I gotta go. Are we over now? Because I'm hungry. I gotta go find tacos.
Oh yeah, hold on, let me hit stop. Hey, shut up.